Hey, what's going on, weavers? Tim here again, and today's project could very well be extremely painful. For you if you hit yourself in the head, that is. Because in this episode, we will be revisiting the Monkey's Fist impact tool, but simplified. As you can see, we used a simple snake knot to make the flexible section and some cobra knots for the handle. So there's really only three principles here: Monkey's Fist, snake knot, and cobra knot. That's all. And we also incorporated this really cool Bane bead and brass snap shackle. So that being said, let's get into it. In terms of materials, I'm using some orange paracord, a 1-inch steel ball, Bane bead, and my snap shackle. But you can attach this to a keyring or carabiner if you wish. I'm going to start about 6 feet or 183 centimeters in from the standing end, and from there I'm going to place my ball bearing in between my fingers, and I'm going to wrap 5 passes around, going away from me across the ball. Once that is done, go perpendicular from the first set and start wrapping another 5 passes going horizontally up and around the ball bearing. Make sure you keep all your wraps neatly stacked and not overlapping. Just work that cord around and around through the spaces in between your fingers. After you've done that set of passes, you're next going to remove your fingers from the first set of wraps. And very carefully keeping everything together, we're going to do the last set of wraps around the second set, going through the spaces above and below the ball bearing. With that last set done, just give the wraps a quick look to ensure that you have 5 wraps on every set of passes. Now, after verifying that, we're going to now work the slack out of the Monkey's Fist. Now, I've got a detailed video going through the nuances of doing this, which I'll link in the cards, but with this finger jig method, I like to start with the first set of wraps we did and gradually cinch all the slack out to one side. To get the best even results, do the tightening in 2 to 3 rounds. Don't try to get it out all at once. With that done, ensure that both of your terminal ends coming out are even in length, and if you have more cord on one side, work it through the Monkey's Fist to even both sides out. From here, we're going to add our bead on by feeding both cords through the holes in the bead. And if you don't have one, you can skip this step or tie a diamond knot or just go straight into the snake knots. Next, to start tying these snake knots, I'm going to start by doing an underhand loop with the left strand going around the right strand. The right strand then goes behind the left strand, and then bring it around to the front and go through the loop on the right. Cinch up that first snake knot and get it as close to the bead as possible, all the while keeping the cords going into the bead nice and even, and get that first snake knot cinched up really tightly. From there, you're just going to repeat the process of tying snake knots one after another. Now, I know there are purists out there who will say that these are actually just stacked wall knots, which they are, but we're just going to call them snake knots. Alternatively, you can tie your snake knots this way, which is what I prefer. Holding everything more horizontally, you can wrap your top strand around your index finger and opposite strand. Then take the bottom strand, wrap it around the opposite, and then through the first loop and cinch the snake knot tight. So continue tying your snake knots until you've reached your desired length. For my example here, I tied about 10 inches or 26 centimeters, not including the bead. Now to attach our hardware, I'm going to pass the left strand through the front of the buckle to the back, and the right strand through the back to the front. Even up those cords, and I'm making my handle length about 3.5 inches or 9.5 centimeters long. With the left cord, I'm going to pass it over the core strands and under the right. The right cord then goes behind and out the crook on the left. To continue, take the now right cord over the core and under the left. The left then goes behind and out the crook on the right. Pull tight and also pull down on the core strands to firm up those knots. So continue tying your cobra knots all the way down to where the snake knots finish. Once you get to the snake knot section, turn everything around and do a second pass of cobra knots over the first, making some king cobra knots. For my example, I started the king cobra knots with the left going over the first set of cobra knots. Continue tying going towards the snap shackle until you reach the hardware. Now I'm going to do the clean finish by loosening the last knot on the back of the handle and then pass the now left strand under the last knot and pull it tight. And finally, I'm going to snip off the excess cords, melt with my lighter, and then press down on them to lock them in place. So there we have it, weavers, a far simplified version of the Monkey's Fist impact tool that I think still looks just as great, especially with that Bane bead. Do consider your local laws regarding making, owning, and carrying something like this. I personally just make these for the crafting aspect of it and for videos, that's all. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and a huge thank you to all my Patreon supporters who make videos like this possible. If you want access to exclusive content and the Weavers of Eternity Discord and want to support the channel directly, please feel free to check out my Patreon page. You can also support the channel by liking the video, commenting, and subscribing. If you enjoyed the content here, please feel free to check out what I have to offer on the rest of my channel.